Back at it again here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Hope everybody's week is off to an awesome start. NFL trade deadline coming up tomorrow. So coming up on today's show, I'm going to explain why this Jaelan Phillips trade that Howie Roseman made earlier this morning that we talked about here on the show is a good move for Philadelphia. Also, though, we can't sleep because Howie Roseman doesn't. Will the Eagles make yet another trade? We'll get into that as well. I do want to begin here. What we do here on the show would not be possible without all of your support. So thank you to all of the real ones and the legends who continue to support this show. We just surpassed 135,000 subscribers. What a joy it is to host this program as a guy who grew up in the Philly area as a diehard Birds fan. If you want Eagles coverage every single day year-round that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, lock us in. Hit that sub button. Let's continue to grow the Eagles Now empire. So the Monday morning trade that we talked about very early this morning, I was sleeping. I got a call from our guy Cullen, who we call the tank here at Chat Sports. My Garmin watch started to buzz, and I'm like, what is going on? It was 6:45 a.m. when I got that call, and Cullen on the phone says and asks, did you see the trade? And I'm like, Howie Roseman did it again, huh? Jaelan Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles sending Miami a 2026 third-round pick. Now, I've already given you a lot of my thoughts and my instant reaction with this trade, but furthermore, as more details come out, you get an opportunity to look at more tape, look at more film, take a look at some numbers, analytics, and trends, and it just allows you to get some more thoughts together in my position as a host when you let this marinate for a few hours. This is why Howie Roseman, in my opinion, made this trade. In trading for Jaelan Phillips, it improves your defense because Philadelphia needed a pass rusher. Yes, it's great that coming out of the bye, you get Nolan Smith back, Brandon Graham out of retirement. But the Eagles' pass rushing production from the edge rusher spot has been one of the worst in the National Football League this year. Now, Jalix Hunt has really started to turn it on over the last couple of weeks. Nolan Smith is their best pass rusher until they traded for Jaelan Phillips. So this just makes you a better and more complete pass rushing unit. The edge rotation, I think, is now set for the Eagles. You'll have Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, and Brandon Graham, all a part of that edge rusher rotation. That's a pretty damn good one that is pretty affordable for Howie Roseman in the grand scheme of things when you look at this roster in its entirety. You have scheme familiarity and familiarity with the player here, and this is something that the Eagles really value. Christian Parker used to coach Jair Alexander. They traded for him. Joe Douglas in the front office again drafted Michael Carter. You traded for him. Vic Fangio coached Jaelan Phillips. And in 2023, before he popped his Achilles, he had 6.5 sacks in 8 games under Fangio. And we talked about the report last night, a couple of days ago on Saturday, from Cam Wolfe of NFL Network, that Vic Fangio looked at Jaelan Phillips as a player who he really liked, who he coveted. So Howie said, you know what, Vic, we love you. You've done a great job as the DC for this ball club. I'm going to go try to get your guy. Jaelan Phillips is also a plug-and-play player from the jump because he knows this scheme. Sometimes when you trade a player halfway through the year, it takes them a while to get acclimated because they're learning a new offense or learning a new defense. It's not the case with Jaelan Phillips. He can also play inside and outside. Last couple of weeks, as he's gotten healthier, coming off an ACL tear last year, he's really started to cause havoc on the edge and at defensive tackle. He's able to use his burst, his athleticism, his length, and his power at times to win from both spots. He's starting to come on post-injury. And look, let's talk about the draft compensation here. Yes, the Eagles did give up a third-round pick. They still have 2/3 remaining. The Jets' third-round pick, which was more valuable than the Eagles selection that they gave up because it could be the first pick, second pick, or third pick at the top of the third round. And so you still have that. You have a third-round comp pick from Milton Williams signing with the Patriots that you're probably going to be awarded. And if Jaelan Phillips leaves after the year, whether it doesn't work out or he outprices himself, you get a third-round comp pick back. So it's pretty much a wash for me. The comp pick going to be in the late third round. So is the Eagles' third-round pick. And we saw with the Eagles' formula to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes bothered once again on Sunday by the Buffalo Bills. How? Why? Because the pass rushes got after it and they went quarterback hunting. That's how you win in this league. And Jaelan Phillips, with his athleticism, with his age, the fact that he's not going to break the bank, he fits the profile of an extension candidate for Howie Roseman if he wants him around long-term beyond 2025. I also think what Howie Roseman is thinking here is this: how can we catch or stay above the rest of the teams in the NFC who are competing with and against for home field advantage and once the playoffs come around? Now, the Eagles had one of the best bye weeks that you could ever have. They didn't play a game, and they moved up to the number 1 seed in the NFC with games coming up against the Packers and the Lions. They also play the Bears over the next 4, Black Friday, to kind of round out the month of November. And so a difficult slate coming up when you're playing against a lot of playoff caliber teams. But Howie is thinking here, okay, we beat the Bucs, but it was a close game. Baker Mayfield's playing awesome. Sam Darnold has that Seahawks offense humming. He's also mobile and can make plays with his legs. Jordan Love is a good quarterback. Matthew Stafford is an elite quarterback. The Niners, Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, they're solid. Jared Goff, at times he can look like a top 10 quarterback. And so in trading for a pass rusher, you're bringing in a player who can help you get after those quarterbacks, and you can also rise up to improve yourselves, to separate yourselves from these NFC counterparts. Or if you don't think that the Eagles are on the level of those teams, Howie's trying to get them to the level of those NFC counterparts. Jaelan Phillips is a player who has a pretty damn good resume. Yes, he had to medically retire in college. He played his college ball at Miami, UCLA, and has had an Achilles and an ACL tear over the last couple of years. But when healthy, excellent athlete, really intriguing player. Year 1, 8.5 sacks. Year 2, 7 sacks. With Vic Fangio in 8 games, he was on his way toward having a breakout season. 6.5 sacks in 8 games. 11 quarterback hits, 7 TFLs, 2 pass breakups. He can make plays at the line of scrimmage, batting passes down with that length, with the ability to leap up. Again, defensive end, defensive tackle potential here for Phillips, and he's not bad against the run either. And you look at his numbers this year, he's coming off that ACL and Achilles injuries in consecutive seasons. So it's taking him a little while to round into form, and he might not be the player who he was prior to those injuries, because that can certainly zap you. But he's really started to play well of late, and really his numbers across the entire season are pretty damn good. 3 sacks, 27 pressures, 7 quarterback hits, and a pass rush grade, according to PFF, of 80.4. But what has he done recently as he's gotten healthier, as he's started to find a groove? 3 of his sacks have come in the last 5 games coming off that injury. Since week 3, pretty long sample size here, as we're about to embark on week 10, he has the 3rd highest pressure rate in the NFL. And he has 10 of those pressures in his last 2 games. And an 18.6 pressure percentage rate would rank 8th among pass rushers with at least 100 pass rushing snaps across the NFL. Another reason, scheme-wise, personnel-wise, why I like this move, you put Jaelan Phillips next to Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, Brandon Graham. Some of these guys are going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and that is scary hours if you're the opposition on offense trying to plan to go up against this Eagles defense. Birds have an opportunity here to do something special and repeat. This is how he rose and putting his chips to the middle of the table. Jaelan Phillips also is probably the best pass rusher on the Eagles team right now. These numbers would rank number 1 on the Birds, and now they do because he's a member of Philadelphia. 19.3% pass rush win rate, number 1 on the Eagles. 18.1% pressure percentage, number 1 on the Eagles. Now, the downside, of course, medically retired in college. Neck injury, if I'm not mistaken. Had the Achilles, had the ACL. Those are all red flags. But you're also looking at what this player can do for you in 2025. Then you think about the rest later and the fact that you still have 2 third-rounders remaining. And if he leaves, you get a third-rounder back for him. It's pretty much a wash in my opinion. Now, coming up next, the big topic among this Eagles fan base and for Philadelphia right now, will the Eagles make another trade prior to Tuesday's deadline. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock on the West Coast is when that deadline is. We'll be live tomorrow, myself and Chip, right here on the channel on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Hope to see you all there. So we'll get to that next. Let's get to our sponsor, though, our friends at Bubs Naturals. Now, a lot of you who watch this show, you know me as Chase Sr., host of Eagles Now. I'm always talking about the birds and the NFL in front of the camera on the microphone. When I'm not talking football, I take my health and wellness very seriously, in addition to my supplementation. And so I really love and value these collagen peptides from Bubs Naturals, and you can try them out for yourself. Get 20% off when you use the code CHAT using the link that we're about to tell you about, and that link is hanging out down in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. Sometimes getting older, it can hit you harder than expected. Stiff joints in the morning, recovery from going to the gym takes a little bit longer, your hair can thin, your nails break, even your skin can lose that smooth glow. Aging sucks, but it doesn't have to. That's why I love Bubs Naturals collagen peptides. Starting in your mid-20s, your collagen production starts to naturally decline in your body. That's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides comes in. Helps restore collagen levels closer to what your body naturally had in its youth. So your joints feel stronger, your hair and nails grow healthier, your skin looks smoother, and you can bounce back from those hard workout sessions. I'm training for a high rocks competition. Every morning, I put Bubs Naturals collagen peptides into my coffee. It's the most abundant protein, collagen is, and it's often referred to as the glue that holds our bodies together. I've noticed less joint pain, my hair and skin very healthy, as you can see with the beautiful mop that I have on my head. Are you bouncing back faster after workouts? That's a question that they had for me when I started Bubs. And you know what my answer is now? Yes. No junk, zero sugar, sweeteners, or fillers. Third-party tested, NSF certified for sport, Whole30 approved. It mixes seamlessly. It's sustainably sourced. This was voted 2024's best collagen by Health.com. How about that? The protein content is also great. 18 grams of protein per serving. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using our code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bubsnaturals.com, use the code CHAT, and you're all set. After you make your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. All right, to the back half of the show. Are the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman going to make another trade? With Howie, you can never rule anything out. Since the start of training camp this summer, Howie Roseman has made, let's count them, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9 trades. He traded for John Mechie. He traded for Jacorian Bennett, traded for Sam Howell, traded Darian Kennard to the Packers, traded for Fred Johnson, traded for Tank Bigsby, traded for Michael Carter, traded for Jair Alexander, and then this morning on this Monday, November 3rd, traded for Jaelan Phillips going into Week 10. A name to watch for the Birds if they want to improve their offensive line, Raiders guard Jackson Powers Johnson. This is a player who I would absolutely love the Eagles to bring in. When he was at Oregon, he won the Remington Trophy for the nation's best center. Chase, the Eagles have Cam Jurgens. They just paid him. Why would they make a trade for JPJ? Well, they would trade for him to play right guard if they want to upgrade from Tyler Steen, who's been solid but not great and very up and down this year. Now, JPJ is miserable right now with the Las Vegas Raiders. I think if he had his preference, he would play center. I think he's best as a center. I liked him in the pre-draft process not long ago as a center, but obviously centers can play guard. That's what Cam Jurgens did the last year that Jason Kelce was playing with the Eagles. This is a really good player in a bad situation on a bad team. And if the Eagles went to rescue him, I think that he could end up being a fantastic player for this Eagles ball club if they want to upgrade along the offensive line. You pair him with Jeff Stoutland, I think that gets his confidence back. I think it gets him playing well. He just doesn't seem like a happy guy playing for the Raiders and playing for Chip Kelly, who is the offensive coordinator for Las Vegas. And so that is a name to watch and a popular name among a lot of people who cover the Eagles and talk about the Eagles, who like the Eagles, that I've seen popping up recently. And so some interesting trade targets for the Birds. And keep in mind that the Raiders only have 2 wins on the year. They could look to fully sell going into the deadline. JPJ as at center or at guard. If the Eagles wanted to upgrade tight end 2 and bring in a tight end who could replace Dallas Goedert next year, and in the meantime, he could be the tight end 2, like he is right now behind Brock Bowers, and you could develop him for next year so that he can start to learn the system. Michael Mayer is also an interesting name, a player who I loved at Notre Dame, and I think that he can be a number 1 tight end for a team out there. Blocks well. Eagles backup tight ends cannot block well. He's also a really good athlete and pass catcher. He dealt with some personal issues, and so he was away from the Raiders for quite some time. But Brock Bowers just came back yesterday and looked incredible. So the Raiders could look to get some value back for a backup tight end, and the Eagles could bring him in to help this year, occasionally running 12 personnel. And I always like that personnel look, especially when the Eagles go in that jumbo package with Fred Johnson as a 6th offensive lineman, but also you develop him for next year as well. And then along those same lines, if you wanted to upgrade tight end because you've brought in 2 corners, you've got your edge rusher, tight end, offensive line, probably the remaining needs here, and tight end obviously at backup, David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns for another team that could sell is another name to monitor here. Can't put it past Howie Roseman. You never can because you never know when he's going to make a move. Just like this morning when I found out when my watch started buzzing. Give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I'm always giving you Eagles coverage here. I love doing what I do. But speaking of that trade this morning, I also broke it down with an instant reaction 60-second video on my Instagram and X page. It's at Chase_Senior. Holler at me.